right, I'm playing Russian roulette again. I am going to read from my new book. And would somebody give me, would somebody like to give me a page number? 54. Okay, 54 and 35. Okay, starting with 35. Oh, number 1 or number 2? Okay. Good wishes. I wish you smooth sailing when the weather gets rough. I wish you a shooting star when you have given up on hope. I wish you answers to all your questions and dreams. I wish you a fulfilling life. I wish you happiness when you feel defeated and strength when you are weak. I wish you guidance when you feel lost and love to always fill your heart. And 53. I read this one before at the Owl. 54. Oh, okay. 54. 1 or 2?
1.
Nature's harmony. After the rain, everything comes back to life. The earth absorbs the nourishment from the clouds above. The raindrops look like tiny crystals on the leaves and flowers. There is a distinctive scent floating in the air, and it intensifies with the first breeze. The sun comes up, warms the air, and everything starts to look energized. Birds land on flowers, gathering raindrops from the petals, and bees collect their pollen. Every little creature has its own function in this harmonious universe. Let's try to keep this harmony.
So I just have one poem to read tonight. It's actually my newest poem. I just wrote it this week. I was inspired by a line in a song by the Snotty Nose Rez Kids. And I just couldn't get the line out of my head, and I turned it into a poem. Shackled and fettered in chains, sacrificed body and brains, hooked up straight into my vein, labor gets sucked down the drain, only for capital gain, ignoring my illness and pain, begging and pleading in vain, silenced each time I complain, speak up considered profane, hours each day on the train, ever extinguishing flame, my number is now my new name. Whispers in secret start swaying, conspirators also are saying, all of us no longer playing, time for the head to start paying. Together our voices outweighing, as long as we're standing and staying, our message more strongly conveying. Power and strength we're displaying, this isn't pretend we're portraying. No longer on us are they preying, instead they're cowering, praying, the shackles and fetters decaying. Thanks.
Two of these are old poems. One of them is a very new one, but they seem to belong together. The first is My Mother's Body Dying. My mother's body, dying, recedes past puberty, hipless, waistless, almost breastless. It rides time's amniotic waters backwards, voyaging through youth's androgyny towards other deaths, other lives, tethered in this here, this now, only by IV tubes and wrist restraints looped through bed rails. I own no light to lure her back, nor boat to follow. The second is Mother's Day, 1997. When Daddy dies, you said, you'd move back to Chicago, buy a condo on the Gold Coast with Eleanor, Become again who you were when you took night courses at the university, went to International House, and half pretended that every day was her birthday. You are 23 years dead now, and Daddy lives in Tennessee.
So I'm going to start with the one that I wrote a couple years ago, and I've read it last year, but it seems apropos because the weather has been so cold. And it's called Psalm 8. Be with me, O Lord, this bleak winter day. All creation is asleep beneath the cold, frigid blanket of snow that is spread across the land. The flowers rest. The brilliant colors of nature are muted, painted over in shades of white and death. Nothing grows. Nothing blooms. The birds with their morning songs have gone south. I'm surrounded by the deadness of winter. And yet in death lies the hope of rebirth, renewal, restoration, resurrection, return. I hold my hope in you, O Lord, and I long for spring. The next one is also a psalm that I wrote recently after having to buy a new computer. And yes, Lamentations. So it's self-explanatory. It's called Psalm 2.3. The IT guide is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me write down my passwords. He leadeth me to safe websites. He restoreth my files. He leadeth me along the internet and sends me righteous emails for his domain name's sake. Yea, though I accidentally walk through the valley of the shadow of the dark web, I fear no evil. For the IT guy named Rod and his staff protect me 24/7. He preparest a firewall of protection before me in the presence of my hackers. He anoints my browser with oil, and my inbox runneth over. Surely goodness and likes will follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house with my server forever. Amen.
Fragments of my mind. I'm slowly losing the pieces. Of my heart, I don't want to return like this. A failure, they mock me. I hear it in my head daily. The laughing echoes over and over. My soul itself lashes out. Like a wolf back into a corner, I bite. But mostly I cry, because I know I'm alone, forever trapped in this fragmented mind of mine. The moon has been my only solace these days. The cold embrace of wind is something I look forward to. When the snow falls, it cloaks the ground. Despite it being so cold, it always makes me feel warmer than any human touch could. And that's the thing. Human contact has always brought me pain and misery. I shudder at the thought of being too close, of breaking my walls down. No one can touch me. Please don't touch me. No one can break these walls of my mind. It's just too fragmented. I don't title my poems. I know some people think that's a pain, but the snakes coil around me. I am left gasping for breath. I have become enslaved, fangs penetrating my mind, piercing my very heart. I hear it, the wolves that hunger for my soul, starving beasts, flashing of their hungry teeth, my spirit ascending with them. With every breath, tighter and tighter, my blood is now drawn from my soft neck, dripping dark and crimson onto the floor. Savagely they drink, none is wasted. Fighting, growling, greedily begging me for more. Can we please have more? The fangs dig deep as my essence leaves, and the wind's soft embrace, it calls me like an old friend. No, it's here. Death, some call. Taking my hand, wings widespread, into the flames I am led. My lungs filled with smoke, and finally I let go, transcending into the depths of darkness, so deep that I am nothing but ashes, nothing but bones.
evening, everyone. It's really good to be back. Okay. So tonight I have a piece that I actually wrote last year after running into a person who had actually hurt me a couple years before that. It really threw me off guard for a little while, but then I was able to just think it through, and here we are. I call it Human Man. I wish you were here, that you could stand in front of me, looking into my eyes like you did that night. Though this time would be different. My voice would not catch. Tears would not come to my eyes. I would not say those same 5 words. I would not say, I think I love you. You wouldn't respond with, I think we should break up. My heart would not start to break as I asked, what do you mean? It would not shatter, as you said. You're just too crazy and screwed up for me. No, it would be different if you were here now. If you were here now, I would take one last look into the eyes I once wished would never look away from mine. I would tell you on this warm summer's night, under these stars with the moon as my witness, that you never deserved my love. Not for a day, not for an hour, not even for a minute. You never deserved to see my smile and know it was for you. You never deserved to cross the wall so many still climb, trying to reach the vulnerable place inside my chest. You never deserved to whisper my name in the dark and have my hand and my heart reach out for yours. You never deserved the tears that wet my pillow night after night. Most of all, I would tell you that I never deserved to feel like I was less than just a simple human man.
The first one I wrote last week when I was outside in -30 walking across the parking lot to the Y, and I was freezing, and it just kind of popped into my head. I'm moving to California, to a part of the land where it doesn't snow, a place where the sun is always shining and the beaches never close. I am moving to California. I bet there's an ice cream shop on every street. With a bicycle being the best way to travel, I'll never worry about getting stuck in the snow. I am moving to California, a place where the air doesn't hurt my face, and walking across a parking lot never made me question my fate. I am moving to California. Isn't that where all the dreamers go? This one, I wrote this one is a little while ago. It was actually almost a year ago. It doesn't have a title. I'm trying not to feel anything. Most of the day it works, maintaining a calming sort of numbness. It's not unpleasant. But then there are moments when I'm caught napping and my heart sprints for the ledge. She jumps as high as she can, somersaulting through the air with a rebel yell. Spreading her arms wide, she flies through the air. But I have a rope on her, and I make a dive for that leash, slamming her back into the ground. Mind you, it is onto a field of plush green grass. After all, she is made of glass. She lays for a moment, stunned, and then she giggles, brushes herself off, and stands. I tug her back in with the rope. I coax her back into her cage, slipping the bolt back into place. Stay here, I insist, where it's safe. She rolls her eyes and exaggerates a sigh, flopping to the ground, resting carelessly against the wall of her cage. But her eyes are alive. I see the fire in them. I know she'll try again. She winks at me. One of these days, she's going to win.
I'm going to start with a nice one. So I wrote this poem. It doesn't have a name, but I was in the archives of the Galt, and I was like looking at old houses in their thing, and I just was like, that's kind of romantic. So it's called Old Spaces. Old spaces, holding new loves, new hopes, mending the fabric of fragile hearts. Yeah. This one doesn't have a name. It's a little bit less cute. So, I caution you not to get close to me unless you're certain you want all of me. For I love hard, I cry hard, and I try really hard to be kind and to be there, but sometimes I fall really hard too. So I beg of you, please be certain you want all of me, for my heart feels too deeply for carelessness.
I don't do big paintings, and so therefore I'll have to tell you a little bit about what's on here for you to understand. This painting is called To See the Roses, and I'm sure you can see the sunflower up there growing, but what's actually coming down is it's raining roses, and the compost underneath here is composting, and there's both junk and jewels down there. And also you can see the seed that opened up in order to make the sunflower. So this is as you know, I often write poetry that goes with the painting. This is the one that goes specifically with this one. To see the roses. Keeping on through gray days, trying to shine, wanting to be of use, yearning to be swallowed up into mystery. Underneath me, dirt, mud, cast-offs. One day, many days now, I see the roses, gifted freely, impossible to believe, composted earth, nourishing all. And then there's another one that goes with it. It's called The Rose. And it'll explain why I put roses on many of my paintings. I was born curious, as we all are, longing to understand the all, the infinite, the big G, looking for reality, for the metaphors to carry me across the annoyances of computer glitches and dirty dishes to the other world here amongst us. One day I saw the rose blooming, one petal after another opening up as I watched. Mystery wasn't unknowable or ineffably beyond, but as the rose, opening more and more to our vision. The more we know, the more we can know. The more we see, the more opens up to be seen. In my vision, I was a little bit smaller than the rose, scampering from one recently opened petal to the next, following beauty step by glorious step to the center, where I saw the roiling, boiling liquid fire, the inner core of an active volcano. Every few minutes, the power of the volcanic core would shoot fire into the sky, beacon to all that here, now, was light, power, beauty. Here at the heart of mystery, progressively revealing itself, was a bridge to the other amongst us, an other infinitely at home, infinitely gathering us into mystery.
A poem just before coming here, so last minute, and then I found one that I didn't read before, so I guess we'll have two. So if I can find it. One is called I Rise Again and Again. So I rise again and again. I am limitless. I fall, I rise. I fall only to rise again. I explore without dogma. Dignity is my friend.
To dream is one thing, to create is another. Or is it? Within a dream is creation. Within creation lies dreams. As I fall, I surrender. As I rise, I am empowered. Thank you. This one is, yes, I think it was yesterday. I went to the Southern Alberta Art Gallery, and I was inspired by the current exhibit there by Delcy Morelos and Lori King. It's called My Mother. My mother, my dear earth, she's our protector, she's our foundation, on which we grow, die, and return again and again. At her origin, she's still. She is calm, and she holds us in place. She is our grounding force. The imbalance at ground zero shattered her, violated her of her richness. She's meant to be diverse. She's our sacred heart. She breaks to let the light in. Arms wide open, she invites the break. The cracks show the powerful blows she has endured, but also where she let out her steam to relieve herself from the pain. See, it's her big break. She's stressed but excited. She's shedding but rebuilding. The limitations of her mind divide her. She's not broken. She is whole and yet expanding. She's growing, evolving, and innovating. She's the mirror of our hearts. We will only understand our sacred mother to the fullest when we merge the mind and the heart. She is our heart. How can we ever understand the rainbow she is if we focus only on one color? She is here to help us transform and advance. She rises from the same fire that burns her down. We may think she's at her end, mature, dying, but she's just getting ready for planting in her new turned over soil. All the discrimination she endured led to nutrients bursting with wisdom. She's now using it to burst through the seed. It's time for her to shine. It's only the beginning. See, she just went through a breakup. Now she's ready to rise upwards. Thank you.
I've got to figure out things in my life as I continue to live it. I'm a joker in between the garage cans, coexisting with all my other problems. The mania drips into multi-cowardly behavior and swarms. Some days, like its anguish, somehow lessen its pain in a moment and became a good freak. The freak that positively kidding around with himself. The ashes of daylight amber spitting its atoms in like bewilderment can't shake off life. The jungle, it won't either. Highway to hell said so. What am I even saying here? I'm not even telling you what life is like. The exploration of ... The dark room conjures itself to the noises of halted mechanisms, to the gravity, but the real things here are objects that you look at with your north, south, east, or west. It's stupid I care about this, but showing you what's around me makes sense once you're listening, right? Uh-huh. I'm blowing green dust outside the sliding door that reveals itself to the nature's black ash. Now in a bit, its only care is why are you using it? Like Sesame Street somehow has an answer for this. The cradle goes la la la. Oops, I fell over. The eyes swag around, and in the dents of the costume siege, there lies the closet the boo was afraid in Monsters Incorporated. That poem is The Powder Plays. Okay, and this is, geez, the expectations I have about mental health system collapse like 9/11. 24 hours a day always telling you what's important. People sorry constantly to each other and tells about politics or payment methods or relationships. I've been screwing around in my head since I was a kid, hiding from realities through the drive-throughs, running from people with one shoe on. Society I live in scares me. Kids terrify me. My mom and my dad say don't say I love you anymore, but that's my fault too. Siblings perpetuate their experiences about you. Forgive, they live with you. Mental health pukes all over the yoga mat. They tell you it's healthy until you have to be confronted or you are the confronter. Did they tell you it's a killer? The scheduler, the therapist demands demands, and then they're scared to be because the system is powerful 24 hours a day. The call health line, talk to a volunteer, and they don't remember but hey, their voice tells you I'm sorry. I think when I said yes, I really meant 1,000 no's. I've tried to take pictures of the evidence, but I can't keep up like 30 mental health pros in the system. Logging, blogging, clogging. So what do? Call it like it is. My clothes might tell you where I've been. My mind might scare you because you don't know where it has to go. You pull up to the house fire, you hear people screaming. You wonder how the gonna matter in incremental moments of sheer fear. For people in that waiting room, a fragile emotional tip bucket sits beside their comfort zones, but what they're really saying is, oh my God, I'm here, what can I think? That's called royal flush.
These are actually translations of the poems I wrote when I was 17, which is like 375 years ago, approximately. And back in the day, I considered a man is a god. I was young and stupid, now I'm just stupid. So this first one is called Blessed Be Thy Body. I worship you like a god. I know, right? I live on the edge of your touch, in the corner of your eye, and only you I feel. I feel your fingertips all over my skin, and the smell of you in my bed. With tips of my lips, I count your heartbeats. Every nerve of yours and every vessel of yours I feel. I run my fingers through your hair. I run my breasts through your hands. I run my plea into your eyes, and desire and lust, and time, and passion, and strength, and pain, and breath, fear and scream, imbibing you. Imbibing you. It's only you and only yours. Blessed be thy body. Another one about imaginary friends. The God that walks on earth. The God that walks on earth, tonight, he walks through my dream. He pauses beside my sigh. He approaches my shiver and sees. My bosom is on fire. My thighs are in spasm, hands in longing. Feverish lips whisper his name in prayer. Holy is the power of my dreams. Holy is the fire of my flesh. May my flesh burn in your flame, my ashes dispersed by your breath. My prayer he answered. A God that walks on earth, tonight he untangled his braid above me.
This poem is influenced by Czesław Miłosz. He's one of my favorite poets. I don't know if anyone knows him, but you probably should. It's called Sunshine. Have you ever had one of those astral weeks? Asked the man with sunshine in his eyes. It was all looking a little bleak before finding another one of those highs. On this precipice, on this peak, with muted thoughts and choked emotions, he prepares to put the game in motion. Let us listen as the slow river speaks. There's not been for a long time an eve as wondrous as this one. I can see the air stretched over a frameless wonderland, from the deep intercession of subterra flows to high above on the updrafting effigies we have the seeds of the revolution. Let us sing. Okay, this one's called Having Learned. I'm going to start with a quote from Ayn Rand. A creative man is motivated by a desire to achieve, not a desire to beat others. Having learned. I took the spectacle off and got what I got, lost my costume and found my skin. Seems like this is a good place to begin. I'm a connector, a master builder, an ambassador, a hope dealer. I am courageous, but I never fathomed how broken I was and and hadn't yet listened to Masters of War. Thus, pacifying myself with a Lower East Side no fixed address, well, what I did, that's none of your business. And pacified is my lighthearted attempt at paving over the realities of what actually went on while pushing against the weight of the world, while contemplating my Ayn Rand treatise. My old friend Phaedrus, who knows the roots of my discontent, looks over and confidently reminds, but Atlas shrugged.
Dear Polish Ontarian, well, pleasure I kind of heard of once. You're very self-centered. You're also terribly beautiful. I've not been very specific. Sweet, soft chest breasts, tiny nipples. You probably smell like what a pen smells like, or pencil shavings, which reminds me of when I had my appendectomy. You're deadly useful, but you've caused a deal of discomfort because your nudes are very disappointing. And surely we're agreed of that a repeat of that time that we filthily groped each other in the laundry room would be sufficient. However, after 10 years of tension, I must say that a mediocre dick pic in very disappointing underwear is a bit of a letdown, and couldn't you at least send me sexy memes? Sincerely, Rada. Dear super sexy Spanish man, Santiago. I call you Santi. That's also what you call yourself. I really can't bring myself to say anything bad or remotely negative about you. You're so beautiful, and perhaps I'm succumbing to that which Winkelmann in the 18th century felt about the Italian mountains, which is that he felt quite displaced and overwhelmed by the beauty. I cannot but thrill at your attention. I'm very glad you weren't scared off by my volcanic midnight diarrhea that time. Sincerely, Rada.
All right, before I get to reading, if anyone's interested, I have a website and a Tumblr. It's just Maggie O'Byrne Poetry at wordpress.com, or .wordpress.com. I'm sorry if I have to scroll. I didn't write any of this down. The subject matter will change quite drastically, but the first one's called Marrow, and it's the one I most recently wrote. When we were young, the wolves siphoned marrow from our bones and convinced us it was love. Our imaginary friends turned into an inverse Alice in Wonderland nightmare as we learned to walk alongside your demons. The monsters under our beds no longer compared to the haunted forest of your presence, which we lingered in long after you had left. When we were young, loyalty was bought and sold to the highest bidder, the ones whose honeyed words cascaded down our bodies. Those lies stuck to us, grains of sand getting caught in our sun-cracked skin, turning up long after we tried to wash them away. When we were young, we learned you weren't really a wolf at all, but a scavenger in a 10-cent costume. Okay. So this one's called Beauty. It's not my favorite, but everyone else seems to like it quite a bit, so. What is beauty to the writers and the poets and the academics, to the scholars and the dreamers? Dried flowers forgotten in their vases and herbs strung up from the rafters. Old books sitting in even older bookshops. Floral tea and bitter coffee, brewed with care but left to grow cold. Nostalgia and the blissful ignorance that it brings. Cold days filled with Kincaid snowfalls and yellow moons. Packages balanced on hips and coats tied tight across waists, thrift shop cashmere sweaters. One too many cream-filled pastries, honey-laden scones, and spiced rum cakes. Warm, rich, decadent colors splashed over coffee shop walls. Sweaters so big we swim in them. Cats lounging on top of unruly bookcases, empty notebooks, promising unbridled potential and unthinkable failure. Stiff whiskey, sweet wine, poured into teacups. The Lady of Shalott, first edition. That one pen, kept long after the ink ran out. Forest floors, dark green and hidden. Storms that leave the air thick and heavy. That color the sky and tear down the heavens.
Hi, I moved to Lethbridge at the beginning of the fall semester, but I wasn't really acting as a human for a while, just kind of a living, breathing studenting thing. So I'm finally getting out and about, coming to cool poetry stuff. Thought I'd read some things. I have an untitled work in progress that I think I'll start out with. And I am also going to set myself a timer because I have no concept of time and how fast or slow it passes, so. All right.
Don't worry about time tonight.
Is it possible to be a human in a blank white room, to feel happy while staring at the wall, to lay against the floor and to be anything at all? Is it possible to have a soul at the same time as having a headache, as the right hand holds a to-do list and the left a remote control, as the kids need pickup from soccer practice, as dinner is burning and work deadlines are being towed over? Can I order a sense of tranquility from Amazon? Can I pay extra for speedier delivery? Can I fumble a hand into my mailbox and plug out Nirvana? Can I solve myself if I ask Siri for the answer? Or can I Google it? Or hear it on the radio or a podcast? Oh, a friend of a friend recommended that I check out Inner Peace. If you're about to pass out, lay down on the carpet. Imagine the people who installed it. Imagine your geography a millennia ago. Picture yourself, then zoom out. Click back. 90%, 70, 45. Play a game of similes. The earth is like a marble, a bubble, a pebble in a shoe, and a human. A human? What is that to you? A body is a statement piece. A soul is a souvenir. Guests pick the conversation starter that appeals to them the most. A body is a necessity like the glue in the spine of a Bible. A soul is ink and people keep spilling water on the pages. What's the use of a human mind if the thoughts aren't documented? If it doesn't write books, the future will have nothing to desecrate, to burn, and to be chided for forgetting. A body will only be comfortable the day it is cut up and turned into mulch under the trees. A mind will only be without burden the day it forgets its own name, or maybe it takes until a few days after that. A soul, to have a soul is to pick a problem with something. Climate change, or the sense of the self, or whether it's better to order waffles or an omelet at Sunday brunch. Is it possible to be a person while being a human, while cursing, while pouring concrete, while forgetting a mother's birthday? Is it possible to be a human person, to care so much and know so little, to comprehend a storm as the clouds but not the wind or the rain? Is it possible to be human while having a headache? Is it possible to have a soul in a blank white room? Now stop. I have a headache. That's what I got so far.
So I've been reading a lot about trees lately to make up for the fact that I live in Alberta. So I've been reading about specifically the yew tree. And so I have a poem about a yew tree, but so I'm going to throw in some fun tree facts about yew trees first, just to give you some context. So yew trees have a lot of cultural and religious significance, like throughout history. They represent death and immortality. They're often either like planted in churchyards or like graveyards and churches were built around the yew trees because they were so sacred. Basically every part of the yew tree is poisonous. They have a reputation for being great at like retaining water, and like sometimes they grow lots of trunks. And so like if you like damage part of the trunk, it'll like grow back pretty easily. They're just like, they're kind of personified as like this very balanced, stoic like energy about them. They're also used to make longbows, like in medieval warfare, because they're like got really cool wood, I guess, that bends good. Anyway, so here is my yew tree poem. And this yew tree kind of takes on a different identity. So this is you. The nerve, how nonsensical to plant me in their shadows. They wave so many arrogant branches down at me, bearing sparsely toothed grins, gobbling up a supper that should have been mine. I know what is said about me, the epitome of patience and frugality. Apparently I am blessed for making the best of the situation imposed on me. How humble I must be, never aspiring to their great heights. But perhaps I dream of seeing stars too. What can I do but take their droplets of second-hand sunshine, 3% to be exact, and hoard it away in my underworld? I will generously agree to guide and guard your dead by stone and branch, but I will rear many heads, and no hornbeams nor herbivores will prevail against my taxing alkaloids. Dancing druids and memories of mother's fruit cannot tempt me. I am forbidden all over. Observe my gracious accommodation and flexibility, but a liar also thinks quick on his feet, groping for every dribble of misty moisture until my twisty caverns hold a greedy fortune. An earthly empire I will build among other dark and damp things. I will make my own dark sky, and you will call me sacred. So I was only going to share one poem tonight, but I'm just feeling I just love coming here and just feeling the wide range and wonderfulness of humanity. So I just thank you all for being here, really. And I'm going to do this other poem. And I will probably 100% cry. It's pretty gritty. So here goes. This is called Sweatpants. You sweetly told me you couldn't help yourself because I was just too cute. So I started wearing more sweatpants. I wore sweatpants every day, but it only made things worse. Sweatpants were easier for you than jeans, easier to take off, and when left on, no bulky zippers. I guess you noticed because you started wearing sweatpants too. You urged me to notice my mixed messages. Did you ever notice the bruises? I almost started to believe that my memories weren't being honest with me. You said, I genuinely don't have any memory of this happening. You told me you don't remember, but then why did you always apologize? You told me it wouldn't happen again, but I guess you forgot. Or the person with glazed over eyes forgot. I think you forgot almost every day for like 3 years? Why didn't I leave? I know that's something they expect I'd be asking myself over and over again. But that question is just a dead fly in a sea of what? A sea of pain, a sea of memories. I don't know what it's made of. All I know is sometimes I sink, sometimes I float, and sometimes I watch it move angrily from a warmer place on higher ground. Why didn't I leave? Everyone seems so maliciously curious to know. It must have been because I couldn't comprehend anything except for how happy you made me feel during the rest of the day when our future and your eyes looked so clear. I could comprehend why your best friend told me you're like a girl version of him, because I thought we were perfect and so did everyone else. I could comprehend how nervous you were the first time you told me you loved me and every other time you said it. I could comprehend the endless inside jokes and traditions that were just ours. I could comprehend the marriage we planned to have. I could comprehend how you were always there to get me out of bed, but not that you were the reason my body desperately wanted to stay there. When my friends asked why I wore sweatpants so often, I genuinely did not have a clue. I guess that's just what happens when you're in a long-term relationship and you just want to be comfortable. Why didn't I leave? After our first year, you sobbed as you told me you had a problem. I thought I was ready to make it our problem, but this is not what I thought that meant. I didn't know that our problem meant two people have a problem, because I didn't know that we live in a world where two people always means shared blame. I didn't know you could be an accomplice in your own assault. I didn't know that our problem meant I'm the girl sidetracking their precious son. They didn't even notice when you stole my eyes and made them as dead as yours. It became easier for me to check out too when your eyes seemed to disappear, but you and I went to very different places. She doesn't seem too keen on the gospel, your mother wrote once to your missionary brother. She misses church a lot, and he says it's her anxiety, but I doubt it. You were both wrong. You can't wear sweatpants to church. Why didn't I leave? You made me feel so guilty for trying to have conversations about it, trying to make boundaries and rules for us, but it's no wonder my brain grew too heavy, constantly trying to work out how to kiss my boyfriend without him disappearing. I tried holding you tighter so you didn't slip away, but it didn't help. I get it though, needing you to believe how much I wanted you and also didn't want you may have been too much to ask of anyone who starts manning the altar at 16. But you'd think that after running the world all this time, men would acknowledge what they've learned of how it works and all her complexity. Instead, they wield sharpened gray areas and crusades for black and white throne. In my world, though, I thought it was simple. I thought I could love you and want you, but also choose not to f you, but I guess you were of my world and not in it. Why didn't I leave? That is still not a question that concerns me, and maybe that's telling. When you went to preach repentance, your mother cried with us during our handshake goodbye. I still don't know why I wore sweatpants. I still didn't know. But you were gone, and I found myself away from you and being pulled into that uncategorical sea for the first time. Eventually, I told our friend what you did, and it was only in her tears I finally started to see what it meant. But I couldn't comprehend it. The robotic trance that decided to wear sweatpants every day was similar to the one that pulled the nearest sharp object, a screwdriver, across skin for the rest of the night. Why didn't I leave? I can't remember whether my parents asked in so many words when I tried to tell them. They needed an explanation for attempted overdoses and bandaged wrists. My lawyer father asked what I wanted him to do about it and finished the same breath with, "I don't think you have a case you could win in court." My mother was silent, looking to my father to impart superior intelligence and problem-solving skills. I began to realize where I first learned that my voice didn't mean a thing. Well, why didn't I leave doesn't mean a thing to me, just like hands shoving your chest away didn't mean a thing to you, or my tears or my words. Just like your words too, they were pretty. Turns out I've got a thing for walking contradictions. I knew there was a problem, but loving you made it ours when it should have been yours, and now I have mine. No, why didn't I leave doesn't mean a thing to me. I hardly noticed. Just like you hardly noticed my limp body or my dead stares at the wall till you finished. I might wonder whether it mattered to you that I loved you, but it definitely mattered to them that I did. Because if I loved you, it must have been what I wanted. No, there's only one question I'm concerned with, and it's why didn't you stop?